Okay. Um, so we'll quickly move on to our next session, which is Cloud Computing 101. So we have our speaker, Ajin Asokan. He's an alumnus of Govt College of Engineering, and he's a full stack engineer at Zerodha. Zerodha is India's leading trading platform. So yeah, over to you, Ajin. You can start.
Yeah. So I hope you guys can see me and hear me. So yeah. So hello everyone. I hope you all are fine. I hope you all are fine, and it's obviously very difficult times. Wash your hands and save the world. So my name is Ajin. I'm a full stack engineer at Zerodha. Currently, I'm working building the mobile applications using a Flutter framework. And standard disclaimer: I'm not really an expert in cloud. I'm just a hobbyist. I have worked on a couple of projects for myself, and I have done a couple of works for in exchange for cash, and that's all I have. So my explanations will be from that experience, and you don't have to take any notes or anything. I don't have any slides either. I'm not a slides person. So I will be writing a blog post with all the things I'm talking in this meet, and I'll be sharing the link in the Telegram group. So I think you guys can see that. So just listen and see what's going on. And I hope every one of you has a little bit of knowledge about web development because I will be talking from that assumption. Okay, so when you build a web app, a web app is basically any application or program that outputs HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Basically, anything that um, outputs these kind of files, and you are able to show that in the browser. So when you build an application, let's actually, I'm going to share my screen. Let's start with some simple HTML. So I'm gonna just go hello world to an index.html, and yeah, here so we have one hello world, and we can share this. We can serve this HTML using very simple HTTP servers. So one you might have built into your system is Python, and Python has a something called simple HTTP server built into Python. So if you start simple HTTP server in that directory, you can see it is serving on 000, which means any IP in the same network, and port 8000. So if you go to your browser and do localhost 8000, you basically see the content of that index.html file. This is basically whatever is inside this file. If I change it to hello Kannur, see reload, it's hello Kannur. So basically, if you have your web app ready, then you can give it out to people in the same network using something very simple like uh, Python's built-in HTTP server. Now, if you want to give it out to the people outside of your network, like to anybody in the internet, then you can do it as simple as something like using a tool called ngrok. So this is a simple tool that creates a tunnel from internet to your system. So by saying ngrok HTTP 8000 is the same port that Python is using. If I do this, ngrok will give us a URL which you can access through internet, and that will give us the same thing, hello Kannur. So this is basically we just published our HTML page into the internet, and it's working and it's giving back our response. But the issue is I'm using my computer, my laptop here. It's using my own power supply. It is using my internet connection and everything. So what if something goes wrong with the power? Especially it's raining these days in Bangalore, and what if the internet goes off? And what if the power goes off? So my internet, my website will be shut down. at that time. So what we need is something like a computer that will run all these times with proper internet, proper power and everything, and it will not shut down. So in that case, we can move one step further to something like a DigitalOcean. So DigitalOcean is a service that provides systems like my laptop that can run 24/7 with all the resources that you need to run that. So in DigitalOcean, one such system is called a droplet. So I can choose Ubuntu as the OS that's running. I can choose the standard plan, and I'll choose the lowest plan, which is like $5 per month, and it provides 1 GB of RAM, one CPU, 24 GB SSD, 100,000 GB, 1000 GB bandwidth. So I'll choose that, and I'll choose the location as Bangalore. So when we access our website, it will be super close, and the response times will be very low. So it'll be fast to access our website, and I will provide access to my laptop and just create droplet. It is as simple as that to create one system that can run our code. So this is literally allocating a system for me in Bangalore servers. And after this, we will get an IP address which we will use to uh, control that. So let's wait until this is done. If you have any doubts or anything like that, I think Rupa can interrupt me. I think that's fine. Okay, now we are almost done, and we got an IP address. So this is the IP address of that server we just created, and we can stop this. So I can just SSH to that server. This is basically logging into that server, taking control of it. So I can update the system. It's super fast because they have really good internet connections compared to all others. And once that is done, I can install a server just like this Python server. Instead of this, I can install something like Nginx. So Nginx is a really popular and very performant server compared to Python, which runs in a single thread. This runs in multiple threads, so it is super performant. So it is installed. Now I can send my this index.html file to that using a command called scp. So this is basically sending index.html to this particular folder. So this folder is where Nginx serves the files from. So I can push this and it is sent. Now I can access it using this IP address. And we have hello Kannur. So we went from our local Python server, localhost 8000, we went to ngrok, and we went to a 24/7 server hosted in this IP address. So this is like a very good flow which you can use for your own web project, web application project. You can use, oops. So you can use this for testing purposes. You can use this to you can use ngrok to share it to some other people and test it out with other people. And when you are ready to publish, you can publish to something like DigitalOcean. But what if your web app was a super success, like BevQ? All of a sudden, there are way too many people opening your web application, and using it, and it kind of feels like your 1 GB RAM and 25 GB SSD is not enough. Like you run out of RAM, or you run out of SSD, or there are way too many people. The CPU usage goes 100% all the time. Then one possible thing you can do is create a new one with a very high end systems like 10 GB RAM, oh no, 8 GB RAM, 100 GB SSD, something like that. And when the number of users go down, you will have to delete that and come back to this $5 version. So the problem is you have to do this manually. And when you do this manually, you're going to have to stop the process for some period of time. This is basically your downtime. Like what do you see in the websites with the red banner saying that we will be under maintenance. So this is what's happening at that time. But something like BevQ cannot be stopped like that. I guess I don't know. I'm not a drinker, so there are so many situations where you cannot even lose like 5 minutes of your service. So at that time, we need something that is as good as this. Like you should be able to flexibly set how much CPU I need, how much RAM I need, how much storage I need, all these things. But at the same time, I should be able to increase it when there are too many people, and I should be able to reduce it when there are less people. And the cost should also adjust. So if I'm using more, I should be obviously uh, asked to pay more. But when I'm using less, I should be asked to pay less. Like it should be pay per use. Here, even if I'm not really like for like 10 people are using it, this 1 GB is still under use and I'm paying for it. But I shouldn't be paying for that if I'm not using it. So that level of cost effectiveness also should be there. So that's why we need cloud, because cloud is the one that provides all these things for you in a very structured, flexible manner. And like Google Cloud is one of them, and there is another one called AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. There are many like Heroku, OpenShift, Redshift, Red Hat, OpenShift, um, Azure by Microsoft. There are many, and but I'm going to use Google Cloud for today's session because I find it really easy and I use it all the time. I absolutely couldn't get my head around AWS at all, so I'll be using GCP, Google Cloud Platform. So I hope you understand why we need cloud. Basically, the entire flexibility of cost, the resources, the ability to scale up and down easily, and the structured way to push an update, change all these things in a very structured manner with better security. So the thing is that if Google is managing all this, Google's scale, they run the whole internet. So they are able to do it with this. So we should be able to do it with that as well. So you don't need cloud from the beginning. You can of course go for DigitalOcean and you will be fine completely. But the moment you need any of these things, you're gonna have to switch to Google Cloud or any cloud. So let's try one ourselves uh, in Google Cloud. So if you have a Google account, you basically can log into Google Cloud Platform. It's basically console.cloud.google.com. So I have one project here. This is my personal project. Project name is Ajin Asokan. This is basically this is what I used to use for my website, but now I'm not using it. So let's start from like very simple project. So for this, I'm going to use CLI, Google Cloud CLI, is G Cloud. This is something you can install very easily. Just Google for um, install Google Cloud CLI, and there will be a quick start for your system. So I'm using macOS. So in the quick start for your respective system, there are for Linux and Debian, Windows, macOS, everything. So just follow this flow. This basically downloading a file, extracting it, and running this command in the terminal. So once you have that set up, I already have it set up here. You can log in using Google Cloud or login. So this command opens your browser, asks you to log in with your email ID. So once you have done that, you will have your G Cloud setup completely ready. So this is the primary setup you have to do. You also need to add your billing details, either your debit card or your credit card. In the side panel here, you can find a section called billing, and you have to add your credit card or debit card. Anything is fine, because without any of such situations, there will be chances for spam. So if you want to use the complete feature set of Google Cloud, you need to add this. It's not that expensive. I'll talk about the pricing later. Uh, Currently, I've been testing last 2 days and it is still zero. I haven't used anything. So you need to set this up as well to use the complete feature set of Google Cloud. So I hope when you start, make sure all these things are set. Now, let's start by creating a project. So, this project is basically a container. You can have so many different things in a single project. If you have used something called a Firebase, which is a mobile backend by Google, that is also a Google Cloud project. So if you create a project in Firebase, that is also a Google Cloud project. I just an extra info. So this is basically a container. You can have your web applications in it. You can have your machine learning applications, big data analytics, uh, like your own personal network can have a network of systems. You can configure the networking stuff in it, can configure CDN, DNS, everything. So basically, this is like a container of lot of interconnected things. So let's create one project. Enough talking. So to create a project, you can do gcloud projects create and a project ID. So I'm gonna call this KDG news. Let's create a hacker news version for KDG. I hope this ID is available. Oh yes, it is available. So this now is creating a project in Google Cloud in my account, and it is almost done. Yes, it is done. It's finished successfully. Now, if I go to my dashboard again, and if I just change, oh, by the way, you don't have to do this URL change. You can directly change the project from a section here. You can change it from directly from here. So this is the dashboard of our project. We basically have nothing set up, no resources, no sign of errors, all services normal, everything is fine, no data is available for selected time frame because we haven't done anything. So our project is ready. Now let's create something called an app engine. So there are so many ways to create a web application, but I'm going to use something called an app engine because that is super easy to do, and it's basically an engine for your application. So that gives you a platform. This is what's called a platform as a service by Google, and a platform means you write the code and you upload it to that, and you get all other things along with it. You get the storage, you get the database, you get the login features, you get the CDN, you get HTTPS security for free. All these things you will get with that, and you will be able to scale up and down according to the number of users as well. So I'm going to create an app engine project for this. For that, the command is gcloud app create. So this will initialize the setup for our app engine project. Is my internet fine? I hope it is fine. So
We can hear you properly. So your internet.
okay, I think this is just Google Cloud. Okay, so I'm going to use a language called Go. So if you have not heard about it, Go is a language developed by Google, and it is a language specializing in network applications and things like that. So I believe this is because I haven't set my project yet. Sorry, that's a mistake. So after creating a project, you have to set your project. So command for that is cloud config set project KDG news. This means set my current project as this. So I'm basically working on this. So that's done. Now if we create, yes, I'm an idiot. So so I was talking about Go. So Go is a very simple language. It's like C. You get the performance of almost C, and it's very easy as well. It's very easy to write high performance applications without making way too many mistakes. So that's my favorite language. I'm going to use that. But if your favorite language is Python, you can use that too in App Engine. App Engine supports way too many languages. So one is Go, another one is Python. You can use Java, PHP, Node.js. I think it even supports C Sharp using .NET Core. I'm not sure about that. You might want to fact check that. So we are now creating an App Engine project, and they're asking me where you want to put your App Engine application into. So when we checked DigitalOcean, we chose the location as Bangalore because they have a location in Bangalore. That's one. Second, the reason we chose Bangalore is because that's the closest thing to our customers. So this is for people in Kannur. I mean, not just Kannur for everyone, but mainly for Kannur. So we need a location that is closer to Kannur to serve this web app, so that the distance is less and the time to communicate from the to the server and back is slow. So the application will be generally faster compared to the one that's hosted in USA, where you will get like minimum 200 millisecond delay. So here they are showing us like 19, no, 18 locations. So in this, I'm going to choose Asia South 1 because this one is the Mumbai location of Google Cloud. Google Cloud is only present in Mumbai at the moment. So I'm going to choose that. So Google Cloud is going to create an App Engine installation in Mumbai for us. Let's wait for that. So meanwhile, I'll start the Go project. So like I said, I'll be using Go. So start a Go project. This is the command, Go mode init. I think we are done. Yeah, our app engine is ready. So let's start a Go project. This is how you start a Go project. Go mode init KDG news. And I will add a main.go file. That's where we're gonna write our web application code. And I'll write one more file called app.yaml. So this is the configuration file that we are going to give to App Engine, saying that these are the setup we need. When we push the code to you, you should be building all these things and giving us the environment. So let's switch off to code. So these are the files we just made. So this app YAML, I'm going to specify only one thing at the moment, and that is the runtime. So I'm going to specify runtime as Go 112 because I'm going to use Go version 1.12. If you are using Python, I'm guessing it is Python 2.7 or no, don't use 2.3.5, maybe something like that. I don't remember. But now I'm going to give it as Go 112 because I'm using Go. So that's the only configuration I'm going to give. And at the main.go file, I'm going to write a very simple. This is how you write a server in Go. You need a port, which I'm going to get it from the environment. And if that is empty, blank, then I'm going to default that back to 8000, the same port we used in the Python scenario. So basically, I try to get it from the environment. If that fails, I'll fold back that to 8000 and I'll use that to serve. Okay, there's one more thing. So when you build a web application, you need to define something called a router. So when you open google.com, that shows the homepage. When you open google.com/something else, that shows something else. So that's the routing. So based on the URL/something, you have to specify which page to show. So for routing, I'm using something called Mux. This is a very easy router built for Go. So just create a new router. Oh no, and I'm going to use that router for the HTTP server. And I will add one route in this, which is going to be the slash. I'm going to call it index. So whenever we access the home page, it will call this index function. So an index function is written like this. W is the response writer and R is the request. You get all the incoming data in the R and you write it back to W. So we already have this index.html file here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read this and copy paste everything to W. So let's do that. You just read the file index.html. I get the data, and if there's any error, that will be here, but I am not using it. You shouldn't be doing this, by the way. It's too bad. You should be handling every single error. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm not going to use the error, and I'm directly writing that to the response. So w.write data. So when we start this, it will try to check if there is any port in the environment information. I'll explain that in a minute. If it is not there, then it will use 8000 by default. It will listen for the slash homepage, And if the home page is being requested, then we will read index.html and write it back to the browser. Now, if we run this, go run doc. This is how we run a Go program. It is running, and let's go to a new tab, localhost 8000, and we have hello Kannur. So it works. Let's add some like a log series listening on. So when we start this, it should print that listening on 8000. Now, the environment part. If I specify port equal to 1234, then space, then go run dot, this is how you set an environment variable. You can set it in so many ways, but this is the easiest way. So this lets you dynamically change the port number, which is a requirement for App Engine. So if I run this, instead of 8000, it goes for 1234 because again, it got it from this. It was not blank. So it used that here. So this is actually done. We are ready to serve this. I mean, we are ready to push this code to App Engine. So let's do that first. So the command for that is gcloud app deploy, and you specify a version. So this is the part where you get more arranged and structured. So every time you push a code, every time you push some change your website, you name it. You name it with a version. So if you have used Git, this is very similar to your Git branch. So if you add a new feature, you create a new branch called that feature name, and when you push that, you specify that name here so that you know when you assess the system in the dashboard, you can see that this version is serving right now. So I'm just going to name the tab because we are still at the testing stage. And let's deploy this. So here we can see it's using the configuration from my app.yaml file, and it is uploading the code from talk. Our project name is KDG News. Service is default. This is just the default web application. And you can have multiple web application in the same project, by the way. I'll explain that later. And the version is just app. And when we try to upload this, we should be getting an error. So another thing, yeah, so we got an error because it says access not configured. Cloud Bill has not been used in this project. This is because here our 6 files is being uploaded to Google Cloud Storage. This is where you keep the files, not the data, the files, any kind of files, you can keep it in the Google Cloud Storage. So gcloud command line tool is uploading our code to this, and it is trying to compile it. So when it compiles, it's saying it is not being able to because we haven't given permission. So to do that, just copy this link, open in the browser. Are we good? Am I too fast? Just let me know. So this is the build API. I'm going to enable this. So, and we had to provide the billing account. So I'm giving my HDFC account as the billing account. So in a Google Cloud, I mean, in any cloud environment, each and every process and system is completely modular and structured. So like is shown that, okay, this is enabled. We can try this again. So like we saw here, it first uploaded all my code to Google Cloud Storage, then tried to build using something else called Google Cloud Build. And when that is done, it deploys it to the servers that's used by the App Engine. So this is completely modular, and you can intervene in any part of this. So if you want to uh, compile your code on demand, like when I push some code to my GitHub repository, you want to compile that immediately, then you can connect your GitHub repository to Google Cloud Build, and it can compile at that time. So this is like a CI/CD setup. Also, you have option to keep your code as well in Google Cloud. So if you don't want to keep it in GitHub, and you can actually attach it to cloud itself. So that is something called source repositories. You can find it in the left side. So the source repositories is actually equivalent to GitHub. So instead of keeping your source code there, you can keep it here. So there are a lot of things in Google Cloud. So you can start from very simple stuff and you can move on to higher as you need. Oh, and we have a build issue. Try that again. So uh, in the meantime, I can explain one more situation where, so suppose everything goes fine, you tested your application and everything is working fine, then you need to have a domain for your application. Like you shouldn't be keeping your domain as kdgnews.appspot.com. You should have like something like kdgnews.in. Then you can assign your domain to this using something called a custom domain. So inside App Engine, there is a setting section, and so here in the custom domain section, you can add a custom domain. So first you need to register one, and you need to do a verification process, which is fairly easy, and you can add it here. So we can't do it right now because, as you can see, there are some issues. So let's try that API thing once more. It was not enabled properly. Usually these things takes a little bit, so I'm just going to escalate it by our fallback technique of restarting the system. So I'm just disabling it and enabling it again. I think it is enabled again. Let's try that once more. That didn't work, then I will use a different project which I already have some setup. So let's do this again. I hope this works. Do you have any questions or something? And we can try to answer it in the middle. Okay, thing. If this didn't work, then I'll use my personal project, and we can upload to that. That already has all these things set up. Okay. I think Google Cloud is not on our side. So I'm going to switch to my project. And I'm going to deploy this application straight up to my project. Let's see. What I just did, I just switched my project to my own project. So we were using the KDG News application. I just switched to mine. So you can just create multiple projects. I think you can create up to 20 projects per account, and you can switch between them, and you can have completely different setups in uh, each and every project. So as you can see, I didn't change absolutely anything else because all these things works in any setup. So if you have to share this to somebody else, then you can just send this code and they can do it with their account and their project. So let's see how this goes. Hopefully this works. Fingers crossed. I have absolutely no idea why this is happening. Oh yes, fine. It's always while the presentation bad things happen. Yes, so it has successfully updated our service and it is splitting the traffic apparently. Yay! So we are done. So now it's actually in my project. Let's go to our my project then. So in my project, we should be able to see our the application which is pushed. So in the side panel, we can see App Engine, and in the dashboard, we can see the status. So it looks like we are running, and this is the URL, I mean domain of our application, and the region is Asia South, and everything looks fine. Cost is 0, thank God. Okay, now let's just open it then. So Ajin Asokan appsport.com. This is your default uh, domain for your application, basically project ID, then .appsport.com. Let's see. Hello, Kannur. Yay, it works. So you're onto something. So it works. Now let's do something more. Let's. So this is like a. This is just a Hello Kannur right now. Let's make it something like Hacker News. So you should be able to see the news, and you should be able to add news into it. So we need some kind of a data storing mechanism, and we need a form, obviously, to type all these things. And when we submit to the form, we have to add it to this database. So this is going to be just a title and a body for per news. So for that, I think we just need the simplest one. So the simplest data base in Google Cloud is Data Store or Firestore. So that can hold like objects, like packets of data, and it can be. It's not like SQL. That's the difference. So in SQL, you can combine multiple tables. You can filter that. You can group things. You can count. You can do a lot of things. A lot of data processing stuff you can do it in SQL, but in data store it's very limited. It is cheaper. It is faster, but it is very limited. So in this case, I'm just going to use data store. So for that, uh, let's change our index page. This looks hell ugly. So let's start by writing a proper HTML head body. I'm gonna put this inside an H1. I actually change this to KDG. We'll keep the same thing as the title also. And what else? We need a form. So we need to enter the title and body. So form, and the method will be post, so it won't be visible to the user, and action will be /new. So we'll post this data to signature.appsport.com/new, and we'll have two input fields, the name, title, and this will be body, and one submit button. I think that's enough. Some new lines, so that looks a little bit better. So we have this. Let's check how it looks. Go run pop. Go back to browser. Refresh. We have this. It looks neat. I want to add one more thing to this, so it looks a little bit better. Something called concise CSS. So this is just a CSS file that styles all the HTML tags instead of the classes. So if you have done web development, I mean web front end, you might know you use classes and IDs for styling things. With this, you don't have to do anything. This was how web was meant to style, but never mind. So now if I check, it looks kinda better, I guess. I have a little bit of OCD. I don't like things being so close to this. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of padding. Okay, okay, that's much better. So now we have this. Now let's handle this post request to slash new in our web application. So here we are handling only slash. I'm gonna add another one, which is the new. This will be a new function called new post, and we'll create something just like this called new post. So here we must be getting the data in the HTTP request R. So we need to hold that data somewhere. So I'm going to create a type which is a struct. This is just like C structs. It's basically combination of multiple variables. So we'll have title, which is a string, and a body, which is again a string. So now we have to get this data from R and create a post. I think I'll add one more, which is the created time, which is a time type. Okay. Now let's create a post with the data that's coming from R. So we'll have title, which I'll get it from post form value, and the field name is title and body, small letters. So we'll do that. For body, we'll do this, and created will be time.now. We are immediately pushing this to database, so it'll be there. The time will be the exact time. So now we have this. Now we need to push this to our database. So for that, like I said, I'm going to use something called data store. So for web applications, when you access something external, you need to have some sort of a mechanism that tells when you have to close the connection to that external thing. So if you're opening a database, there will be a connection and you should be closing it when you are done with it. So in Go, it is handled using something called a context. This is a built-in thing in context. And we will be using something called a background context. So this means our database connection will stay alive until our application is completely stopped. So this gives a background context that will handle this. So we have the context of the background. Now let's create a new client for a data store, and we will provide our context to this. So this, we are gonna give the project ID, which is my project ID. So like I said, I switched from KDG News to my project here, and this will return back a client to us and error. Again, I'm gonna keep error. Don't do this unless you are presenting to somebody else. And so now we have a connection to our database. Now we need to push this post to our database. So for that, if you have used SQL, you know something called primary key. So that is a way to identify one particular record in your database uniquely. So for me, it could be my Aadhaar number, although I'm not sure if it is unique at the moment. But it could be Aadhaar number for US citizens. It could be something like they have an ID, social security ID, something like that. And uh, basically like that. I think you get the point. So here, I'm not. I don't have a unique ID because I have just a title and a body. So I'm going to use something called an incomplete key. So this is asking the database to give me a random key, so that I can insert this data. So this is how you create it. So incomplete key, then you provide a kind of data. So the kind of data here is a post, and it's asking for parent. I'm not giving anything. So just nil. A nil is basically null, just named differently in Go. So now we have a key. Now we have a client and a key. We can just directly insert to our database. So client dot put. We provide the context. We provide the key, and we provide the data. So with context, this particular key we just created, and the data we just collected from the request, we directly put it. And this, again, this returns back error, not handling it. So this should ideally put the data in the database, and we just hope at the moment. And I'm just gonna return back saying new post added. I just converted a string to a byte array and wrote that back to the response. So let's try this. Oops, we missed something. So we have this entire code, but nowhere in this code I have specified my authentication. Like I have specified my project ID, but I have never specified my password. Like there's absolutely no way this program can access the database and insert the code. I mean, insert the data. So the way web applications, basically any backend applications, communicate each other, authenticate each other, is using something called a service account. In Google Cloud's perspective, it's called service account, and you can generate a key for that account. It's basically like a password, and that key is sometimes in the format called JWT, and we're gonna create that now. So for that, go to your dashboard. Here in the APIs and services section, you can see a credentials option here. If you click that, it should show all the credentials related to your account. So I have two service accounts here, and this one is the one that is related to App Engine. As it says, App Engine default service account. You should be ideally creating a new one, but I'm going to reuse this. So let's open that service account and create a new key. And I'm choosing JSON because I like JSON. Basically, that's it. And we will get the JSON. I'm gonna keep it in our directory. So I'm just gonna name it service account. So this is going to be the password for our web application to access this data store. So I have it here. Like I said, this is a password. So we shouldn't be pushing our password to the source code. So that's why we have this G cloud ignore file. So here, whatever you add, it will not be pushed to Google Cloud. This is like git ignore. If you have used git, this is just like git ignore. So we will just exclude this file from going to Google Cloud Storage. So now we must be able to access it. So we have authentication in place, we have everything in place. So let's run this. On 8000. Go to our home page. Let's type something. Let's see. Oops, that's an error. Oh my god. Again, I'm an idiot because I did not specify that that is the file that we are going to use. So for that, we have to again specify our environment settings. So this is how we specify our Go program to use that particular JSON file. So just export Google application credentials and the full path to that JSON file. So this is how it is. So this basically is exactly like setting that port we did for that Go program. Let's do that again. Now if I just redo this, it should be fine. Yes, yes, it is fine. So new post added. Let's go to our data store and see if it is there. This is something I created earlier, I guess. Yes. So we have it here. I'll just delete everything and start again. Otherwise, this will be a little bit polluted. So I'll just do this again. Let's to clean up the data store. Yes. Now here, if I refresh, yes, we have our content we just created with the time, and this is the incomplete key I just created in the Go program. So this ID is randomly generated for us. So it works. So now we just need to show this in our homepage in a neat little way, right below this, maybe. Let's do that. So we have our index page. We need to modify this to show that. So if you have used PHP, you can do this very easily just by adding PHP code here, kind of like this. But we are in Go. So in Go, there is a concept of templates. So if you have used Python, you have Jinja templates, which is very similar. So in Go, this template is also built in. So what I'm gonna do is use the template mechanism. So this is how you create a template using an HTML file. So just create this. So this template mux function basically compiles it by passing the files, basically just index.html, and this is our template. And with this template, I can execute that HTML and write it to our response. And this is the data I'm gonna give, but for now I'm just gonna give nil because I don't have anything to right now. So this basically reads it, compiles it, and executes it and writes back the data to response. This should exactly work exactly like our first version, which was basically opening the file and writing, I mean, copy pasting everything back to response. So if I open this, this should be exactly same. It works. Now let's add the code to fetch the data from data store and print it here, somewhere here. So let's modify this. So first we need to do the same exact thing we did here. Just basically get the context, create a new client. Now using that client, we need to get all post. So client.getAll, give the context. And we need to specify a query. So this query is just like SQL query, but it's programmatic instead of giving it in a string. So I'm gonna create a query that store new query, and it's asking for the kind. So our kind we specified is this basically a type of the data. So this post should match whatever we gave here. So we are gonna query all the posts, and the order should be in the order of created, but it should be in the descending order. So minus created. So now we have a query. Now let's give that to the getAll function. Now the last parameter is the destination where you want to keep it. So that is going to be an array of posts. So our post, an array of post object. And I'll just give that. So we basically created a context, created the client just like previous one, and queried all the posts in the descending order of created, which is basically the time. So the last one created will be on the top, and we copied everything to the this posts array. Now we can give this posts array to our template. So our template here should be able to access all these posts. So the template format in this is a little bit different. So to loop an array, it's using range, and I specified dot because this is the data we are going to pass here, and that's an array. So dot means the value in that particular scope, which is an array here, and we end the loop. So here we are looping this, and for each item in the post, we will get title and body, and we had created. I'll actually put this created between these. Okay. Let's add some BRs, new lines for good measure. So let's try this out. Run this and refresh. Yes, it kind of works. So we have this title, body, and the time. The time looks ugly, and the title also looks ugly. So let's change that. Let's make it h2. And the way you format is pretty easy in Go. You just have to remember one date like this. So it formats like that. However, you specify this, if you're specifying it like this, it will be formatted like that. So just need to remember this date and give that to the format. Now, if we refresh, yes, so we have this in H2 and we have the date here. Let's try one more. There's some. Okay, new post added. Go back to home page. It says hello. That's the last one we did, and welcome. So the order is also fine. So now we have this. Let's let's deploy this. I mean, what is stopping us from accessing this from the internet? So again, go gcloud deploy version test app. Again, this is going to take like a minute, I believe. So it's uploading everything to Google Cloud Storage. So while that happens, we can actually check a couple of other things. So the thing is, when we posted this, it shows like new post added, right? It just shows this, but users are anyway gonna go back to the home screen, right? So we can either add a link here to homepage, or we can automatically redirect back to home screen whenever this is done. So still going on, still going. So so that's basically like a UX thing. We are helping the user basically. So backend development is all about being nice to the machines, and front end is basically being nice to humans. So by directly redirecting to that, we are helping them, saving their time, things like that. Thanks for coming to my tech talk. So moving on. So let's redirect this back to home screen so that user don't have to wait. Oops. Still uploading. Let's actually check and verify this live, and after that we can do that modification. Any doubts or anything so far? Why established companies prefer AWS and Azure over Google Cloud? Uh, so in India, I think this is in the context of India, because outside India, Google Cloud is big. So in India, as like I said, there is only Mumbai data center, but many like Azure and AWS has so many other places with their data centers. That's one reason. Another reason is AWS and Azure has tie-ups with government. So if you want to keep your government or any kind of data like Aadhaar data or anything like that, it has to be a company that's verified by government or approved by government and stuff like that. And that's, as far as I know, only AWS has it. I'm not sure about Azure. Only AWS has it. So that's the reasons for now, I think, is the main reason. But Google Cloud is super popular among all the startups because it is super easy to do, and they get a lot of leverage on top of the Kubernetes and things like that, because the implementation in other systems are actually not same as the way Kubernetes was first designed. It's their own version of Kubernetes, kind of like that. There are some mismatches, but in Google Cloud, it is purely the original Kubernetes and things like that. So that's one of the reasons, I believe. I'm not sure. Maybe there could be some other reasons also. What is the IDE you are using for development? That is VS Code. Uh, it's not really an IDE, it's a code editor, but with a lot of features, including the editing support from all the languages. So our app is actually live right now. So it's live on Ajin Asokan. Let's check it once more. Yes. Yes, our website is live. Let's add something else also. Post added. Like I said, I had to go back to home screen to do this. So let's save that time from our users. So basically, I just removed that message from here. let's redirect this request back to our index. To do that, you have to do two things. One is adding a header that says location. We should be continuing is slash. Slash is whatever we were using for this index. And another thing is setting the status. You have to set the status code as 3, not 2. So this is telling the browser that you're done in this page. You have to go to the location I specified in the header immediately after this. So let's try this locally. Go run dot. Can I miss anything? Am I running this here? Yes. This is the issue if you are not specifying the errors, by the way. If you are not handling the, if you had handled the error, it will be shown here saying that it's already used. But since I'm using it here, yeah. So I'll just redo everything I did. So I just added this redirection. Now let's try this out. Listening now. Go to localhost. So now if I, what's that? Oh, because just because I set the credentials in this tab, not in this tab. Okay, stupid mistakes. So now if we access this, we are seeing all these things, which is fine. Let's do something and submit. This should come back to home screen with this post. That's what we are expecting here. Yes, it works. So it went back, it went to slash new, inserted the data, came back here, it fetched again, and it showed us. So it works locally. But in a real life scenario, when you make a change like this, you will not be pushing this code directly to production. I mean, to everyone to access. Because what if there is an error that happens only in production? So we need to test this out while it is available in the internet. So in such scenarios, you can deploy it, but with an extra flag called no promote. So what this does is it pushes the, okay, I'll change the version also. So this is going to be our auto redirect version. So this will name our update as auto redirect, and it's not going to be live for all users. So let's try this now. So this is a concept called version, while you can keep two different versions at the same time. So the other one was test app, and this one is auto redirect. You can create as many versions you want for the same application. You can test them out separately. You can access them separately. You can split the traffic between them. So if you want to like experiment with two different flows, maybe something like that, then you can push both of these things at the same time and see which one is getting more traction. Like you can choose like blue color and red color for some banner and see people like which banner is getting clicked by more people. So that you can do that kind of like a two, I don't know what it's called. Oh, it's called A/B testing. So you can do that kind of things. So here I'm just using this to test this out before I release this to production. So let's wait until this is done. So like you can see, it's uploading only one file now because I changed only one file, which is my this Go project Go file. So it's like Git, like it will upload only the things that's changed. And like you can see, the URL is also different. It used to be ajinasokan.something.appspot.com. Now it is autodirect hyphen dot hyphen ajinasokan.appspot.com. So this is a different URL where you can access this particular version. Any other questions? No. Oh, actually, while testing, I had assigned my a domain to this. So let me just check. So while testing this, I had added a custom domain to my app engine, this particular project. Let's see if it is live. If it is live, actually we can use that instead. Custom domains. Yeah, actually it is live. So while testing the whole presentation, I had added kdg.ajinasokan.com as the domain. So I had verified, I already bought this like 2 3 years back and verified it yesterday, added this. And we also got SSL security. This is something you have to pay for your normal websites, and it's quite expensive. But with App Engine, you get that for free, which means you can access your website using HTTPS. So let's open this also. So instead of this, I can actually do kdt.com. And yes, it actually works. And I can switch to HTTPS also, which is the secured version, and that is also okay. Connection is secure. So that's how you add the domain, by the way. It's a time consuming process. That's why I didn't include it in the presentation. Yes, so it is live. Our auto redirect update is live in a different domain. Let's go to our App Engine dashboard and this versions section. So this is going to list all the versions we have currently running. So it has test app. These are some test versions I created earlier. Yes, after refreshing, we have auto redirect also. So you can see the traffic allocation here. So it's 100% going to test app. So everybody who is accessing ajinashokan.appsport.com or kdg.ajinashokan.com is going to the main site. But if you are accessing this domain, we should be able to access our update, which is where we added auto error. So let's test it. Submit should come back. Yes, it is completely fine. It works fine. So now we are confident that this update can go live in production. So for that, you can do this. Can almost everything I did in the CLI with commands can be done from the UI also. It's just that it is a little bit slow. The UI is a little bit clunky. So to make this production, just check this and click on migrate traffic button here.
Do
And
you
I
want
can.
to give 50-50 traffic? Show them how to that is.
Oh yeah, for that you can select both these and click on this one. This is the split traffic option. I don't want to do it right now. This you can configure it in a very different ways. I'm not going to do that right now. That will be taking a little bit more time. So here, I'm just going to do the complete migration, not the 50-50. Instead, I'm going to do this 100% completely to auto redirect. So click in migrate and click migrate, and it says routing all traffic. And after refreshing, it says serving test app is now serving for 0% and auto redirect is serving for 100%. This means we just migrated a version of our app to a new one with zero downtime. This absolutely didn't create absolutely no downtime. So with migrate the split traffic, you can actually test this out for half a client base. You can even do that. This is like a beta testing sort of thing. So when you do split traffic, you can actually use it for beta testing also. And I can delete all other things safely. And this auto redirect will be live now in our main domain. Is it done? Still deleting. Yeah, it's done. Now we have only one instance running, which is the latest update. We type something, I'll just add something else to identify. Yes, it works in the live domain. We have the latest version with the redirect. So this is how you. This is one way of doing it, by the way. But this is like the easiest way to push an update safely without downtime. So this is like an introduction. You can go on and on and on with a lot of things in this. So for our use case, I was just using this data store. But if you want to make the news, uh, like you have to add authors into it, you can add tags, categories, and stuff like that. If you want to do that kind of things, then you need something like an SQL database with Postgres or MySQL or anything like that. But in Google Cloud, you have only Postgres and MySQL under the name Cloud SQL. It's here. So this is how you can do that. Plus, if you want to say store files like photos, videos, PDFs, stuff like that, then you can use storage. And when you use SQL, it's going to be really heavy on the SQL service. So you might want to cache some of the results, uh, like suppose you're distributing all the certificates of for some examination or something, and you don't want to run the query again and again for the same person. So what you can do is you run the query once, keep the output in a really fast storage, and use that and again. So for that you can use something like a memory store. The easiest one will be something called memcached, but if you want really complex data structures in that, you can use redis. And Spanner is like a geographically distributed database, just like Firestore or Data Store. Firestore again, similar to Data Store, it's actually same now, but you will get real-time updates when a change happens. You can use that in games, stuff like that. And Bigtable is something you can use for analytics. So there are a lot of storage. I mean, what do you call systems basically you can use. So the idea is that you need to identify what kind of data you want to store. Depending on that, you can choose the right system, and the price will be according to that. And we just created one application, one web app, but suppose you are suppose we are coming up with an app, a mobile application for KDG news. In that case, you might want to create an API service for a mobile application. So you can split the adding and fetching parts from this and create a new service. That's the service part here. So this is like you can have a web application and an API service separately, and you can update them individually. So throughout we were using only default. You can create multiple if you want to. So it's the same project modularized into services. You can do that. And what else? There are a lot of things, by the way. I can just go on and on. Okay, one more thing is there, which is the logging part. So you have your application running and you want to see how it is performing, whether it is having errors, whether there is some delay in the processing. All those things can be seen. One is the logging thing. This logs viewer basically shows you every single thing that's happening in your application. So you can just have a look at this. So this shows every request, like from Chrome 83, somebody access slash, somebody else access slash new. So this is a log of every single access we had in our app. You can monitor that. And there is something called stack trace, which is to, this trace is for checking the errors. You can also set up error reporting. So you can set something like when the requests are failing this many times a minute, send me an email notification, something like that. You can set up an alert like that inside error reporting. So this is how you monitor and debug and improve the quality of your web application. So all these things are here. You can use them. Some of them are free, some of them are not free. So to check that, there is something called pricing calculator. This pricing calculator gives you a clear idea of what service, how much it's gonna cost. So we were using only data store and app engine here. Let's check the pricing for that. So the thing is that for every service there is a free tier. So you can use until that free tier is over, and any usage after that will be charged. So we were using Mumbai, Asia South 1, and default instance. And we had only one instance, and that is 0 USD, which means I can basically run this application a whole month and I don't have to pay anything. But if I want to upgrade that to F2, which is a higher system, then that will cost me $35 per month. So you have a free tier, and if you exceed that, you have to pay only for that. So you can calculate for every single thing in this, uh, and you can find out a budget. You can decide a level for how much you're going to spend. All those decisions can be taken. And if you think any of these things are not enough and you need more control, like suppose you're building a game where you have to communicate with two different gamers through some very sophisticated protocol or something like goes through UDP instead of TCP, then you can't do that in App Engine. So for that, you will have to have your own network stack and your own network for the whole computation. So for that, there are a couple of things. One is the compute engine. This is just like DigitalOcean. You can create a instance and you can add RAM, you can add SSDs, you can create your own networking, private networking. You can take backups. You can you can do pretty much anything you can do on your system. And there is one more thing called Kubernetes, which is like the GOAT tier of application deployment. You never, most of the time, for most people, it, Kubernetes is not required. But if you have that many users and that many connected services, then you might want that. But it's like way, way high in terms of complexity and the things that surround it. So, so that's it. I think I have given a basic understanding to how to create a simple project, add data, manage version updates. Then we just took a tour of all the like some of the features, I believe. I think this gives you a good start when you look at cloud platforms. So that's all from me. If you guys have any doubt, I think we can. Well, I already exceeded the time by 17 minutes.
So if we have any quick questions, we can take the questions now. Like we'll do it for 5 minutes. Okay.
I
Right.
think, yeah.
Right. Okay. So, anyways, Ajin is going to be here for at least 15 more minutes. You can probably ask good questions on the chat, and maybe he can take the question sometime later also. Uh, so we'll go on to the next session which we have. Uh, okay. So Ajin, do you want to share your social media profiles on the chat?
Okay, yeah. So
I'm gonna end this session so you guys can